What's up, friends, family, and future friends? Today we're going to be looking at, in the bottom right spawning as the blue Zerg player, Mr. Ragnarok, and in the top left spawning as the red Protoss player, Trap, from the most recent Olimoleague. We have that's a fast pylon there, my friends. This is what I like to call the 13 pylon. As this pylon gets built one supply faster than usual, and in that way you can always block the natural, bar one exception. Except one exception. And that is if the opponent Zerg player opens up with 14 hatch, which is a build that has been gaining popularity recently. It basically gives you similar economy to your base being over at this area, but your natural is in the natural. So against any kind of glaive adept builds, it's easier to defend, and it's still slightly better economically, but it's very similar. So if the Protoss player decides to do a 13 pylon and a very fast scout to try to deny your natural base, 14 hatchery is actually the best build order you can do. However, if the Protoss decides not to scout at all and play something like no scout, gas first, very economical opening, and then the Zerg player decides to open up with that 14 hatch, that's absolutely awful for Zerg, because then it's basically like building your first hatchery over here. It's just really bad economically for you for no reason. So it's a little bit of a gamble, and this time the gamble paid off here for Ragnarok, who will be playing slightly ahead right now against Trap than what he should have been. So let's see what we are going to get into here as the Cybercore is finishing up for Trap, and this always is the key moment in the PvZ. We see a Warp Gate starting, and we see an Adept starting with a Chrono Boost. Now, Warp Gate starting, what does that mean for Ragnarok? It means that most likely this is going to be a Twilight opener or a Robotics Facility opener. I'd be very surprised if this was a Stargate from here. We are seeing a Pylon build. This is very odd. Wow. Oh, wow. We are seeing Stargate. I say this is weird because usually when you see Warp Gate first, like, it delays your Stargate so much that you don't play a Stargate. This is the reason that Trap is doing this is because of a mind game. So basically Trap wants to make Ragnarok believe that he is playing a Twilight or Robo opener and hopefully delay Spores in that way. And maybe so against the fast Twilight build, you want a faster second gas, you want a faster Roach Warren. These things all cost money. So if Ragnarok buys the bait, we're not going to be seeing any Spores. Now this, if Ragnarok knew any timings, he would know that this second gate is way too late for a Glaive Adept, and that this pylon is way too early for any non-Oracle build. So the moment he sees this pylon, he should start building a Spore. I don't think he's paying attention to that right now, though, as we're not seeing a single Spore yet. Instead, he does build a Roach Warren and a Spore. Okay, that's interesting. So he's a little bit afraid, perhaps, of a DT drop. So he's covering both bases, kind of. I think he figured out it's not Glaive Adepts. You can also see it by the gas being there. It's just like, okay, it's either gonna be DT or some weird late Oracle. So he covers both bases by building Spores at his first two bases. He should also build a Spore at his third base, but I guess there's an Oracle now, so it doesn't matter anymore. And he got a Roach Warren, which he does cancel at the last moment while the Oracle arrives, and builds an Evo Chamber instead. So most likely we'll be going into fast +1. So really cool early game mind games here coming out of Trap, trying to fake out Ragnarok a little bit. And even though this Oracle doesn't do any damage, you might say, well, this was definitely not worth it. That's okay. There was some indirect damage here with that Roach Warren cancel. Probably doesn't quite have the queen count that he would like to have already, so I don't really mind the position here for Trap very much. I think it's a very playable position. Follows it up with what looks to be a second Oracle, and then we'll be going into a Nexus, perhaps followed by some other tech. Yeah, Forged Twilight, so playing it kind of risky. The safer approach usually is opening with that Robotics Facility, so you have the ability to build out Immortals in case you're being Roach rushed or Queen Roach pulled, but Trap, feeling confident that that ain't the case, instead will be opting for Forged Twilight. Will give him more power into the mid game, as it just increases the speed of your first upgrades. Double score is here for Ragnarok, who managed to lose 3 drones regardless. Micro here coming out of trap, who decides to fly by into the third base, and the 2 queens of the third actually walk towards the natural. Good drone pool here coming out of Ragnarok, who realized that if his drones would be left there, they'd be signing their death path. So very solid defense there by Ragnarok, who was caught slightly out of position, but ended up making things right. Now +1 melee is halfway done right now. Most likely we'll be moving into a Roach Ravagerling Bane style. Usually you only see a lot of Ravagers if there's either a lot of Archons or if you see sentries, a lot of sentries, to break those force fields, of course. Now 3 Oracles still flying around, spot this third base. Are going to go for a cancel. I doubt this will work. 3 queens are moving in, might be able to target. No! Wow. I really didn't think that would work. Queens are really slow of creep, but with the 12 or 10 range that they have, of course they manage to shoot from very far, so they don't need to be somewhere fast. If you have the range of half a screen, usually that's okay. 4 more gates are on the way here. 2 on that natural, trying to create some kind of semi-wall. Make sure no links can run by below over here. Wouldn't be surprised to see a cannon in this location, maybe another gateway here to truly go for a full wall. Now we have a little bit of a move out here out of trap. This is a very fast move out with a lot of Archons very early on, or well, a lot. 2 Archons before the 7-minute mark is quite fast. Ragnarok is kind of ready for this though, stopped unit production early, and I mean if Trap sees the unit count, he really shouldn't be moving forward here, as there's no use, honestly no use. Won't be able to get a cancel, too many roaches out. We see 8 more drones in production as this hatchery is about to finish up. And we see the Oracles trying to go in for another flyby. We'll be able to get a 3-4. Might get 5. Nice. Ooh, he keeps going. That was a cool move. Micros back the low Oracle, doesn't lose anything and kills 7 workers. That was big actually, because those were the workers that Ragnarok really needed. Ragnarok is too afraid to truly drone because he knows there's an army on the map currently. He has very little map vision, and he believes there's an army on the map, which he's correct about. We have only 76 workers, or 67, sorry. Ideally you would be at 76 right now, or 78, maybe even around 80. We see those drones being produced now, but yeah, this fourth base hasn't been mining too much yet. There's no extra gases yet, so this is a very nice start here for Trap. We'll be heading into double robo as a follow-up, which is very rare to see these days. Usually you see people start with 1 robo, continuously producing immortals from there. No storm being started yet either. 2 drones do go down again. These 3 oracles have provided so much value here for Trap. What's that? 3 kills, 3 kills. That's 13 kills total on those oracles. And of course, that's the investment of the extra spores in every base, the extra queens that you'd rather not have. As this link gets cleaned up once again at this 4th base. Trap trying to start some run-bys that get spotted immediately. Once again, the vision of Ragnarok is surprisingly poor this game. It really has no spread whatsoever. Of links, we have a couple of roaches trying to go for these zealots. I thought they were going to go for a run by themselves, but of course he knew that the zealots were coming, so went to meet them head first. What else do we have here? We have this little push. Still no storm done. +2 is halfway done. +2 is also halfway done for the Zerg though. And that's of course a very big upgrade. The moment that +2 finishes, your banelings will be able to one-shot probes. And any run by you do will become a lot more dangerous. We see a lot of Ravagers here. What is this? 8, 9 Ravagers. Wish I would be capable of counting. 8 Ravagers indeed. 8 gas here for Trap, who still has no storm. +2 is basically done at this point, and I think he's going to be going for some kind of a +2 push. He does have a pretty sizable army. And actually, if he can fight off creep, I think he has a pretty decent chance of getting a good fight. The problem is just on creep. Now, there isn't a lot of creep, so it might be easier to fight off creep than I usually imagine. I actually feel like he should not be using his oracles for this. I think Trap should want to bait Ragnarok into an off-creep fight. Be like, hey, you know what? Just move onto the map and try to fight me on my terms. Sometimes this kind of stuff can work, where on purpose you pretend to not see something to bait out a certain response from the Zerg player. I wouldn't have minded that here from Trap, who is trying to go for a run, but this kind of run by when nothing else is happening is usually kind of useless, right? Like, these Zerg players are too good, like they can just send units there, they know it. Usually run-bys are good when a lot of things are happening. So 2 run-bys at the same time is already better, but it's even better if the Zerg is threatening with his army. Same for Protoss. If Protoss is over here with its army clearing your creep, then 5 zealots come into your 3rd base and 5 into your 5th. It's a lot scarier than just random 5 zealots onto your 5th base as your army is positioned over here and nothing else is happening on the map. So always try to set up those engagements and those run-bys in a way that makes it difficult. Oh, big surround here coming out of Ragnarok, where Storm has finished now. Not the greatest for us, with a lot of banelings still being able to go through. Where's the rest of his army? His army feels surprisingly small. There's what, 4 Templar. Stargates are on the way, as well as a fleet beacon. 3 oracles still on the map. And we have 18 more banelings on the way, so even though Greater Spire is very close to being done, we are mainly seeing more banelings being added to this army. 64 banelings done right now. Then we have a run-by being set up here, another run-by here, and this is kind of what I was talking about, right? You set up 2 run-bys, you have that army in the middle, carriers are starting, and not only is this a run-by, this also is a squad that can deal with harass relatively well. Like, it does okay against high link counts. There's 2 Archons, so should also do fine against banelings. Now, the 2 armies on the top side of the map join up once again, and we're gonna be seeing some pushing out on the map right now as we once again have the run by being set up to that 5th base. Very patiently waiting Trappist. Oh, big storms. No. There's hit a couple of storms, but this surround by Ragnarok is way too good. It's going to get so much value out of those banelings here. We see the supply plummeting for Trap, who, while he's being pushed back, is running into, well, the Great Wall of Spines right here by Ragnarok. So Ragnarok completely prepared for this. We'll actually be able to keep pushing on right now. Still a lot of banelings in this army. There is 11 banelings left. We'll be able to clear all of those stalkers. I think this 4th base is a forfeit at this point for Trap. And perhaps this game is a forfeit. There is 3 carriers on the way, which will help. There's still some army here. Managed to clean 5 spines. 4 more finished up here. Now the Ling reinforcements will be able to finish it up. Is there Adrenal yet? No Adrenal lands. +3 is on the way. And there's a lot of money in the bank here for that Zerg player. Now the Zerg player should be a little bit afraid of those carriers. Of course, if it's only 2 carriers, that's very playable. But once that carrier count starts growing, it becomes dangerous for the Zerg player. And he needs to find a way to deal with it. In this case, Corruptors is the way forward. I believe that's the correct call as well, as we do have Adrenal Glands on the way, +1 flyer attacks. And 3 more carriers for Trap, who is struggling to stay alive right now on 3 carriers, 3 Templar. 4 carrier, 3 Templar, and a single Phoenix. Couple of DTs being warped in, most likely being used for an Archon. Yes, there we go. Slightly lower on the gas count, higher on the mineral count, so I am a fan of that. I think it's okay in this time if you're very, very tight on gas. Usually I wouldn't recommend it, but in this case I don't mind it, honestly. It's really gas is the limiting factor for him here. Now we have a lot of Ravagers still on the map. Still those 8 Ravagers, 8 Roaches. Couple of Banes being morphed in as well. Going up to 15 Banes right now. And of course those Corruptors are there. Broodlords being built. This is a bit of a surprise to me as... Broodlords. You'd think that just staying on Ravager, Ling, Bane, Corruptor would be good enough against this army, then trying to connect onto this 4th base again once it finishes. Because there really is no ground army to speak of, so the Broodlords... Usually I'm always a big fan of Broodlords, don't get me wrong, but in this specific game I don't think they really serve a purpose. So perhaps Ragnarok going a little bit into... into the automatic pilot here, where it's like, alright, usually I build Broodlords, so now I'm gonna build Broodlords. But right now, I actually think a big Corruptor push. Like imagine 12, 13 Corruptors and a big ground army would just completely crush this. Get a lot of workers here and basically force the toss to all in with the carriers that he has left after the fight. I think you'd be able to snipe 3-4 carriers. Then there's 2-3 left maybe with like a big Corruptor count. And then I think you're just gonna be able to, win the game with your reinforcements, or he probably just leaves, honestly, as there's not much the TOS can do at that point. Instead, we have Ragnarok going for the long game, which, if you're very confident in the late game, of course, once ahead, just get further ahead is always decent advice. Creep spread is kind of mad on this map currently. So we have a lot of creep everywhere. 5th base not being taken yet for trap. Don't think it will get taken anytime soon. Spores are moving, but this is going to be an aggressive spore push. I really like this. This is also very cool. And now the Broodlords make a lot of sense. They kind of just fly above those spores. They shoot from a distance and yeah, enjoy attacking into this trap. How many spores is this? 8-9 spores. Couple of queens for transfuses. There still is a bunch of spores here. And I mean, the moment the carrier player moves out here, he's just gonna lose this base, or at least these workers. Now, Ragnarok should be a little bit careful, of course, as these spores are a little vulnerable in the middle of the map right now, and you don't want to lose all of those spores for free. I'd love to see Trap just move forward with only his air units. I don't understand why these ground units are here. This seems like a massive error of judgment. Just let your air units do the work currently, and then let the ground units come in later. We have a very big fight actually coming out of here. 2 Vipers on the way, Broodlords trying to do some damage. Archons are falling quickly. Still a couple of storms in the back. Might be able to be cast at some point. How many interceptors? 7 interceptors only left. All of them fell very quickly against these +1 corruptors. There is +1 air weapons, and right now Trap is still, or well, once again on 3 base, being put back to that. Yes, how many carriers? 6 carriers, 6 Void Rays, still with that Flux Veins, and that's really the only reason that he didn't just get jumped by these corruptors, these 6 Void Rays, because once there is no more interceptors, the only thing really fighting, of course, is the Void Rays. Now, there's not a single spore here, which might be a little dangerous. There's 24 corruptors, though, with +1, 5 more on the way, +2, getting very close to being done. And if I recall correctly, there were some Vipers built, yes, joining up with that main army as well. A couple of parasitic bombs would help a lot onto those Void Rays here. Nice, we see carriers moving forward. First parasitic bombs being casted on 2 carriers. Ooh, sloppy micro here by Trap, who just flies it straight back into his other carriers. A lot of the Void Rays also taking some damage. Ragnarok smells his opportunity, moves forward. Storms are being landed, but this isn't going to be enough, as a single Archon on the ground won't be able to cover everything. 3 Void Rays and a single carrier, and GG gets called as a Ragnarok claims this game. Now, if you did enjoy this cast, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give a thumbs up, leave a comment down below if there's any series you do want to see. And otherwise, I'll see you all next time for a new video. Bye bye.